Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRFBets race of the day for Sunday, April the 7th, race number 8 at Keeneland. It is the Grade 2 Appalachian. It is a $200,000 event going 1 mile on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. And for our loyal DRFBets race of the day viewers, money back on a race of the day courtesy of DRFBets. Bet $7 to win on any horse in the race of the day by using bets.drf.com or the DRF iPhone app. If your horse finishes second or third, we'll give you your $7 back. Let's meet the field for the Appalachian 3-year-old fillies. You can access free formulator past performances for the race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with one of two Chad Brown trained entrants, the number 1 Claus. And I really liked Claus's career debut. It was the faster division of maiden special weights for 3-year-old fillies on February the 9th. She beat 2 next out winners. She didn't break very well. She got a nice trip after that. Irad worked out an in-out journey, but she kicked on home, and I like that nice low action she utilizes.
I like that race from her too. I thought that was a pretty good field she debuted in too, so it wouldn't have been a surprise if she, wasn't quite good enough, but as it turns out she was. And I'm with you. I thought Irad rode her with a lot of confidence once he got her clear. In the stretch, she did the rest. I like the way that she finished it off. Pretty good debut, and I suspect that if Chad's running her back in a graded stakes, he liked it too.
Keeneland grad number 2, Winning Envelope. I think she's a little bit better than she looks on paper, Mike. Her win at Churchill Downs 3 starts back. That was pretty easy against non-winners at 2 life foes. Last time out in the Florida Oaks, she was down inside. She was running a little bit at the end of that race. I think she could actually be closer to the pace if need be. I think Winning Envelope has a chance to maybe crack your super at a price.
Yep, I'm using this horse at a big price. Her only turf starter is a 2-year-old. It wasn't easy when it wasn't a good field, but she won it the way you would want to see her win it. She had enough trouble in that last one, just sort of buried down on the rail. Once they got to the stretch, Marquez, he had no choice. He had to stay in. It didn't work perfectly, but she was running at the end. I'm using this horse at a price.
One of the keys to this race is whether the number 3, Catch a Thrill, will successfully stretch out in distance. She is stretching out 3 furlongs off her solid runner-up effort in the Melody of Colors Stakes at Gulfstream Park. She's run 2 races. She's been a closing sprinter in both of them. Do you think we see a little bit more speed this time around? I look at this pedigree, and I wonder if it's a little bit more sprint-oriented. I mean, I know we're not going 1.25 miles here, but it's a city zip over a successful appeal mare.
Yeah, I'm worried about stretching out with her. We'll see what happens. I like both of her races. I think she's run fine, but she's stretching out in a tough spot here.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race. Even with the stretch out in distance, the number 3, Catch a Thrill, is expected to be in mid-pack. The number 4, the Macam Bullet, is expected to be closer to the pace. And the Macam Bullet, who ran some really nice races, is a juvenile filly sprinting on turf in Europe. She tried the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf against the monstrous newspaper of record. Listen, her first start on the main track at Turfway was against a very weak field. She won by 100 lengths. They tried the Battaglia against the boys. She was far from embarrassed against the horses that came back to run 1-2 in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. The Macam Bullet, it looks like, has some quality, but I still think she's a little bit better going shorter, even with that mile win on her page.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't know how I feel about her going long. I do think she's a good horse, though, and that can go a long way. If she handles the distance and can run her best race going longer, she's a contender in this race. Her races as a 2-year-old were good.
Princessa Carolina, who is last on the pace projector, is going to need some help up front, but she's done some good things on the turf. For trainer Kenny McPeak, I liked her win at Saratoga the first time they stretched her out. I thought she had noticeable trouble in the Jessamine in her graded race at Keeneland last year. And last time out off the layoff, listen, she came with a good run. She was just taking on an odds-on favorite that had the jump on her. I thought Princessa Carolina ran really well. She's got a beautiful pedigree. She goes second off the layoff for McPeak. And listen, she's just going to need some pace if this pace projector's right.
Yeah, I mean, she's just going to need a trip in this race. But if she gets one, I think that she can go with these horses. I agree with everything you said about her. Her turf debut at Saratoga was a really good effort. I mean, it's hard to say that she was going to win the Jessamine, but she had a terrible trip in that race and easily would have been a lot closer than she was at the end. And they just walked on the lead last time in the Here Comes the Bride. She's vulnerable to stuff like that. If they go slow in front of her, she's going to be compromised. But she ran, considering the pace of that race last time, she ran really well to be second.
Peter Miller ships in the 6, Angel Alessandra from Southern California. This horse put the blinkers back on most recently and rallied from off a very fast pace to win. She's going to have to stretch out to a mile. She has a lot of questions to answer. Class, distance.
Yeah, those things bother me too. Listen, maybe she'll be a big price, and if she is, none of that stuff really matters. She ran well last time, but I feel like this is a pretty good field.
I think the 7 Naughty Joker is a sneaky long shot for Wesley Ward. Javier Castellano, never out of the exacta from 4 lifetime tries, winner of the Bourbon at Oaks, going 2 turns on Polytrack in her first start of the year. The only start on turf came over that quirky European configuration at Kentucky Downs, and I don't think she ran badly at all that day. She's just a little slow on paper.
Yeah, I thought she ran pretty well in her only turf start as well, considering it was her career debut, and she's improved since they stretched her out, which is a good thing.
Another long shot to consider is the number 8 Hard Legacy, going out for Norm Cassie. I liked both of her first 2 wins, and last time out in the Grade 3 Swedish Chant, there was just no pace on. She seemed very uncomfortable in behind a slow pace, and then she was 1 pace late. Considering her level of experience, and she doesn't have a lot of experience, I think if she gets a fair pace, she's going to come with a much better kick this time around.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I wanted her to run better last time, but she did just get really headstrong on the backstretch, so maybe it just took everything away from her in there. Her other 2 starts are both really good, and listen, I've sort of learned to give these horses that have already run well or won over the Keeneland turf course to sort of give them some extra consideration, and she broke her maiden here very impressively last year.
The number 9 is Regal Glory, going out for Chad Brown. I love the way she won her debut at Belmont, going 6 furlongs. I thought she was in significant traffic on the far turn. She split horses, and then she just ran away from them. It was no surprise that she came right back and won a little stakes race at the Big A in November. First start of the year in the Swedish Chant, a useful effort, especially considering that the horse that beat her, I think, is really good.
I do too. A Bit Special is really good. This filly ran really well in her 2 starts last year. I know they were sprints, but she ran great in her first 2 starts. And considering who she was in against, and it was her first time routing, she might have run even better last time in the Swedish Chant. You know, she didn't break that great in that race, Dan. It just sort of got her caught 4 wide all the way around the first turn, all the way up the backstretch. She was wide on the second turn. She couldn't kick with a Bit Special, but she actually ran really well last time.
Beautiful Ballad is the number 10. She was favored in a stakes race at the fairgrounds last time out based on the body of work she established in her first 2 turf outings, both victories at the fairgrounds, and maybe she was exposed a little bit against stakes company, or do you want to give her the benefit of the doubt?
I mean, I thought maybe she was exposed a little bit. She certainly should have run better in that race, and now they ship her in here. And not that she's in over her head. The 80 by or 2 back suggests she fits here. But again, I think this is a pretty good field.
The 11 Primella made her North American debut for former Chad Brown assistant Cherie DeVoe. Good effort, I thought, in the Here Comes the Bride, considering the layoff, considering the lack of pace. She was running on late. She just drew a tough post position for this Appalachian.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that she drew the far outside because it could compromise her. Her Here Comes the Bride is a lot better than it looks on paper. Again, we've already talked about it, Dan. They were walking in there, and she was last at the top of the stretch. For her to make up ground and finish 4th is actually a really good performance. After that race was over, she was one of the horses I sort of reminded myself to see where she turns up next. She turns up in a tough race, but at a big price, I'm going to use her.
Let's take a look at our top selections for Sunday's DRFBets race of the day. You're going with Princessa Carolina. All 3 turf starts good. 4-1 on the morning line. McPeak, Brian Hernandez Jr.
Yeah, I like all of her races. I just hope she gets a reasonable trip in this race, and then we'll see what happens from there. I like her. I'm going to use as long shots, the 2 and the 11 with her.
I like Claus in here, like the debut, like the fact that Chad is perfectly willing to throw her right into the fire. First time against winners at Keeneland, against graded stakes competition. 3-1 on the morning line, not very appetizing. I'm going 1-5-9-11 and hoping that this is not going to be a subordinate clause on Sunday. I'm on point today, Mike Beer, and you folks can be on point too, because you can utilize DRFBets to play the race of the day money back guarantee. Bet $7 to win on any horse in the race of the day. And if your horse finishes 2nd or 3rd, you get your money back. Bets.drf.com is where you need to go for all the details. Approximate post time for the Appalachian race number 8, 4:57 Eastern. Best of luck.